a programmer has written an algorithm to check that prices are less than $10. So the prices are less than $10. These values are used as test data. So he's given us three values to be used as test data, meaning these three values are going to be input in the program code, although we don't know what the program code is because he's not given us the program code here, but he's given us the logic here, right? That the prices should be less than $10. So we are supposed to input three values and use these as test data to basically test if the program code is working fine. Okay, so that's the basic concept here. So why has 10 been chosen as test data? Because 10 is a boundary value. 10 is a boundary value. This is a boundary value. You can't be more than 10, right? Or you can say this is our extreme. So this is an example of a boundary or extreme data value, right? And what should happen? This should be accepted by the program code. This should be accepted by the program. Okay, so we always, whenever we choose data, we make sure that we always choose a boundary value to check if the code is working fine when we input the boundary value. How about 9.99? Now this is a normal value. This is a normal value, or we can say this is normal data, right? This value should be accepted by the program. And finally is written, is input a value using alphabets, characters, uh, and this should not be acceptable because we know that the price is this is a numerical value, whereas here he's, although he has written 10, he's using alphabets to type in this value. So this is an abnormal value. This is an abnormal value. This should be rejected. So this is abnormal data and this should be rejected by the program. Okay, keep this in mind that whenever you get a question where you're asked to choose test data for a given situation, always use these three types of values. You should uh, give an example of abnormal data. This is a value of data which should be rejected by uh, the program, right? For example, here, in case of abnormal data, we could also have given a value like 11.00. Now, this is an abnormal value because the prices should be less than $10. So, this should also be rejected by the program code. You could also have given minus 1.00. This is also an example of an abnormal value. So, these are the values that are going to be rejected by the program code. So, get, whenever you have to give examples of test data, choose an abnormal data value. Choose a normal data value. This value should be accepted by the program code. And also choose a boundary or extreme data value wherever it's possible. In a given situation, you can choose a boundary or extreme data value. And this boundary or extreme data value should also be accepted by the program code. Just one more question, a quick exercise. Consider a program that input marks of students between 0 and 100, right? So this is what we need to keep in mind, that the marks should be between 0 and 100. So you are supposed to suggest test data to test your program code. Okay, like I said, we should always give an abnormal value, and in this case, because the values are between 0 and 100, we've given 123 here. We could also have given a negative value like minus 1 or minus 10 or something. So this is an example of abnormal data. This should be rejected by the program. Next, I have given an example of boundary data. Boundary data in this case will be 0 and 100, right? So we can use either one of these values to test our program code. We'll give the boundary values, we'll input the boundary values, and this should be accepted by the program code because these 0 and 100 are technically acceptable, but they are extreme values, they are boundary values. And finally, I've given an example of a normal data. It could have been any value between 0 and 100. We've chosen 77 here. And I've also given the reason This should be accepted by the program code because this is a normal value. I hope you've got this concept of test data.